Okay, this is Renata again. This instrument is not an instrument. This new design I created is for what we call, is for the health and healing. And I combined the theoretic knowledge and the actual knowledge, actual science. And I created this communications band-aid that's used in diagnosing disease. And what the Band-Aid does, let me just describe it. These are the adhesive portions of the Band-Aid. This is the actual Band-Aid. This part here is the electrical grid that's attached to a cell replica. And what it does is it uses the actual science of cellular communications, meaning we know in science that cells, molecular cells, they communicate with each other. And when the body is diseased or plagued, the cells communicate with each other, they send messages to each other, and they employ a strategy to fight off the disease. Now, what this Band-Aid seeks to do is it seeks to aid in the process of diagnosing and treating disease using cellular linguistics. So the cell, the artificial cell, would act as a cell in the cell host. It would it seeks to intervene into the cell where there's any sort of disease, and it would basically listen for the communication among cells, gather information about how the cells operate, and then store that information in the Band-Aid, which can then be translated on an EEG machine, and then translated into medical language in order to facilitate more accurate diagnosis in treating diseases. How it works is quite simple. You would place the cell, it's non-invasive, you would place the Band-Aid on the localized area that's diseased. You would stimulate the cell using proper electrical currents. The cell would begin to communicate with the other cells, all drilling all the way down to the diseased area. The cell would then begin to communicate with the cells, like the red blood cells, which would be employed to fight disease. It would then communicate with the cells that would be used to fight disease, to understand what is going on in the environment, what is causing the disease, because we know in science, in actual science, we know scientifically that cells do communicate. We know that cells do employ strategies to fight diseases. We do know that cells recognize enemies. And they employ a strategy of defeating an enemy. What we want to understand more is what causes the cells to fail in combating disease, and there are many questions we can ask. So what I devised here is an artificial cell that would act as a cell in an environment where there is disease. It works using surveillance in the molecular environment. It gathers surveillance, it stores that surveillance, and then that surveillance is then decoded and translated into medical language, and then we're able to understand the environment of where the disease is taking place, what actions can and can't be taken, what is causing the disease, and then we're able to make a more accurate diagnosis. So this is a theoretic device, and it can work two ways. We can use a synthetic cell, or we can use a real life cell culture. It's a theoretic device in diagnosing diseases. It's non-invasive. It's a non-invasive procedure. You apply it on the top of the skin, and is able to penetrate different layers of cells to accurately gather the necessary information that is needed. Okay, this is what I call, it's a theoretic device, and I call it the cellular communications band-aid. Okay, thank you.